Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to today's video, which is going to be about the 4 skills that you need to master in order to become a coach. And the format, as you can see, is a little bit different than usual because I am at a spiritual retreat. So I don't have my camera and I don't have my tripod. So I'm just recording in this lovely setting. Hopefully the sound quality will be good enough. And I'm also going to be sharing my screen with you today so that you get the most out of what I'm about to share with you. Before I get into the topic of today's video, just a reminder that I will be hosting a webinar titled The Confident Coach on the 7th of August at 7 p.m. British Summer Time, inshallah. So if you are really interested in becoming a coach and you are in the early days of thinking about building a coaching business, or if you have already started, but you don't have a certification, then this could be a great webinar for you, inshallah. I'm going to go through the 3 phases that you absolutely need to go through yourself in order to create a successful coaching business. If you want to register for the webinar, just have a look at the link in the description box, inshallah, or just comment webinar and I'll send you the link to register for free, inshallah. Now, let's talk about 4 skills that you need to master in order to become a coach. And before we go into that, let's have a look at the agenda for what I want to talk to you about today, inshallah. The first thing is the fears that you might be having right now regarding how to lead a coaching session as a newbie coach and what to do about them. Then we're going to talk about the 4 skills that I keep on mentioning since the beginning of this session. And then we'll talk about the breakthrough cycle, which is something important to understand as a coach. So when it comes to the fears that you might be having, this is something that I hear a lot from my trainees, something that I went through myself at the beginning of my career as a coach. You have a fear of having your first call with a potential client because you have no idea how to lead a coaching session. So it's not that you're not good at coaching people. It's not that you're not good at holding space for them. It's just that you lack structure and knowledge. So I like to tell myself that fear is the result of a lack of knowledge or a lack of preparation. So you just need to ask yourself, which one of those 2 is it for me? And if it's both, then how can I gain the knowledge that I don't have about how to lead a transformational conversation with someone? And how can I prepare for it to the best of my ability? And if you do those 2 things, or whatever comes up when you answer those questions, then the fear and the anxiety will reduce automatically. So in order to answer those 2 questions, I've come up with a session flow formula for my trainees, something that I taught them in an intensive that I led at the beginning of the year, alhamdulillah. And this formula will allow you to feel more confident when you are leading those coaching calls at the beginning of your journey. Okay. And there's 3 principles to them. The first thing that you need to remember is safety, okay? We are here to create a judgment-free space so that breakthrough can happen. No safety equals no breakthrough. If your clients or the person that you're talking to with the intention of getting them to join you as a client does not feel safe to express themselves because you are being judgmental, you're interrupting them, you're not actively listening, and so on and so forth, then this is not going to be a fruitful conversation. And this is the most important thing when we start coaching: safety. The second thing is understanding that you need to coach with curiosity, not expertise, okay? Curiosity. Just stay curious. See yourself as a child. You're not here to fix anyone. You're not here to teach or perform or look a certain way. You are just going to ask questions so that the client can find the answers within them. And just knowing that already is going to allow you to remove some pressure on yourself to be the person who has the answers to everything for your clients. That's not your role. And then the third principle of the session flow formula is to end the conversation with clarity. Even if you don't have a breakthrough, okay, because this is a question that I get a lot from my trainees, like, what if you've been talking for 50 minutes and it just feels like your client has been unpacking a lot, but nothing has actually nothing feels like it's come to any conclusion, nothing feels like a breakthrough or an insight. That's okay. not every coaching session is going to have these amazing breakthroughs where your clients cry and they feel like changing their entire lives. No, actually, those are less common than the sessions where they unpack and they just kind of gain clarity. And that's it, clarity and awareness. And that's already a huge win for your clients. You don't realize how much liberating it is for them to have that space to talk just about themselves and their problems and their thoughts and beliefs. How many of us have that on a regular basis? And unless we go to therapy every week, we don't have those spaces. So the end goal is not to necessarily always have a breakthrough, but it is to come to some sort of end of the session that feels like something has happened during that conversation. So you're going to reflect back the shift and anchor it with action by asking your clients, what would you like to do from now on, basically? So even if nothing has been mentioned clearly, no breakthrough has been done, it's okay to take 10 minutes at the end of the session and to ask your client, what was your biggest insight in this conversation? And what would you like to put into action after what we've spoken about? Even if it's just a journaling prompt, a meditation, a mantra, a dhikr, a dua that they want to make to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The end of the session is very important because that's what's going to leave a certain impression and sensation or emotions in your client, and that's what's going to make them want to talk to you again, hopefully. Now, once we have understood the session flow formula, we need to step into the coaching compass. The coaching compass is all about the 4 essential skills that you need to master in order to be an amazing coach, inshallah. And the first one of the skills is one that I've already mentioned. It's going to be active listening. Okay. So when we are actively listening to people, we're not just hearing words, which is what we do most of the time when we are having conversations with people. Now, in this case, you're trying to read between the lines, basically. You're asking yourself, why is my client telling me this? What does it mean for them? And sometimes you even ask them, what does this mean for you? You really go deep into wanting to understand everything, their perception of the world, their beliefs, their thoughts, the reasons behind their actions, their intentions. So you're really tuning in beyond words. You're also looking at poses, energy, emotion. You're listening to what's not being said, including the body language. And you're not listening with the intention of responding. You're listening for the sake of listening. You're fully present because you're not trying to impress this person. You're just trying to understand them and create a safe space for them. Skill number 2 is very connected to the previous one. It's practicing silence. And this is going to be your superpower as a coach nowadays, because a lot of people decide that they want to become coaches, but not a lot of them are actually gifted and talented. And not a lot of coaches are actually skillful. Let's be honest here. So what is going to differentiate you from other people is your ability to really practice silence and let people sit in the discomfort of the silence in a conversation with you. Some of my best coaching sessions were the ones where I practiced silence the most. And now it has become so natural for me that when I do live demonstrations of coaching in front of my trainees in the Thriving Coach certification, I will naturally practice silence, and they'll highlight it to me at the end when I ask them for what they've noticed. But to me, I don't notice it anymore. I don't even realize that I'm practicing silence anymore, subhanAllah. This is how organic it has become for me. It is a really hard skill to master for anyone who's starting coaching because it's not a natural one, but it will help your client process without you rushing to fill the space. And you can think of it as you planting a seed where the silence is the soil. And when you give someone space to think, that's when the real insight is going to grow in that soil. The seed is going to turn into that breakthrough. If you don't allow people to think for themselves, to have that space where nothing is being said, to sit with their emotions as well, then you're robbing that ability to have an insight or breakthrough from them. And I can think of so many mentors that I've hired, and that's what they were. They were mentors. They were not coaches. And the reason why I love coaching a lot more than I love mentoring in general is because a good coach will allow me to sit with my thoughts and emotions and not just rush through everything in a session without me having time to actually process what was said and what was felt. That's not why I paid 5 figures for a coach. No, I don't want that. I want to actually slow down to what's going on in my head so I can understand myself better and I can fix whatever is keeping me stuck. Right? So it's the same thing for you as a coach. Practice silence, get comfortable with it. Skill number 3 is the non-judgmental space. We're coming back to this, okay? You need to be neutral. You need to be clear, just like the sky. You have to take this as an opportunity to be a mirror to your client, not a judge. And subhanAllah, this goes back to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The believer is a mirror to the believer. You're going to hold space without projecting your opinions or experiences onto your client situations, okay? It's not because you just went through a divorce and your husband was extremely toxic in that process that you're going to project that onto your client who's going through a divorce and kind of push your current negative beliefs onto her. No, you have to refrain from doing that. So see yourself as the clear sky. You're allowing clouds, as in thoughts or beliefs that might be judgmental, pass through your head, but you're not speaking them out loud, okay? You're not letting the intrusive thoughts come out of your voice as a coach, because your job is not to convince anyone of anything. It's not to fix the weather or the client. It's not to give your opinion. It's not to teach someone anything. It's just to provide the space for the cloud to move and change naturally on its own. And that is a lot more powerful for the sky itself. And that's the only way for it to change anyway. If you think you can change your clients, you are delusional. Only Allah can change people, and themselves can change themselves, not you, no matter how much you charge. And the last skill is probably one of the most important one as well. I mean, those 4 are essential anyway, but it is asking powerful questions. And if silence is hard to master, I think asking powerful question is the one that's the hardest to grasp in terms of like, how do I learn how to do that? This is the one that I get the most questions about during the Thriving Coach certification. Now, what we do with our training is that we give them a list of questions, but I always tell them, I don't even want you to use those, to be honest. I want you to be so present in the session that you forget about any list. And you just ask what you think is the most qualitative question from a place of curiosity in that moment. Now, what does help is to listen to coaching sessions. It's to witness them live, and so on and so forth. When you do that on a regular basis, when you're exposed to coaching yourself as well as a client, then you get a lot of ideas in terms of what could come up as a question in any given moments as a coach in your sessions. The more I listen to podcasts, the more I read about personal development and spirituality, the more I find inspiration to ask the right thing to my clients in my coaching sessions. So what's a powerful question? It's going to be a question that's short, open-ended. Okay, we try as best as possible to avoid closed-ended questions, often uncomfortable questions that go straight to the heart of the matter rather than beating around the bush. Okay, we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to go deep with our clients. And if you can go deep from the get-go, then go deep from the get-go. People are not paying you to waste their time. So an example of a powerful question, instead of what are you going to do about this? Who would you be without this belief? I love questions about beliefs. This goes a lot deeper because now we're not just looking at the fast action. We're looking at the transformation in identity. Okay. Instead of why did that happen? Why questions usually are not great because they suggest that there is judgment. We're going to ask, what's the truth you don't want to admit right now? So much more powerful. Now, last thing I wanted to talk about after the 4 skills is what we call the breakthrough cycle at the Healed Sister. And it's basically the journey of your client and their experiences within a session with you. And it starts with awareness. What we're trying to develop with our clients at the beginning is awareness. We want them to see what's really going on for themselves. And to see it on their own as well. We don't want to be the ones telling them, this is exactly what's happening, let me diagnose you. It's more powerful when they come to their own conclusions. Because all of your clients are going to come to you with the tip of the iceberg, what they think is the problem. And your job is to kind of go deep with them, take them under the water by force not by force, because they've come to you, they want this, and show them this is the actual source of the issue. Let's work on that. So people will come to you and say things like, I'm a huge procrastinator. But through the questions that you're going to ask them, through the listening and the silence, then they're going to realize that in reality, they are scared of success because they don't believe that they're good enough. Okay. So that's the awareness phase of the breakthrough cycle. The second thing that happens after that is the element of ownership and responsibility. We want to help our clients not blame anyone for where they are, and really take that element of accountability at this point. And we want to do that gently, because it's impossible to work with someone who's in a victim mindset, but then at the same time, it is your role to be compassionate as a coach as well. So you're not going to push someone to the point where they start crying and they start feeling terrible, and they get to a place of like victimizing themselves for feeling like a victim. That's a risky thing to do as well. So you really want to be compassionate in that place and show them that there's power in taking responsibility and in letting go of the martyrdom or the victim mindset. Once we've done these two things, once we've helped our clients gain awareness and take ownership, what tends to happen at this point is the shift. Okay, this is where they have a light bulb moment, where their perspective is going to naturally change during the conversation, because we've opened the doors, we've made the way for this to happen at this point. And this is where you'll hear things like, I've been waiting for permission to live my dream, but I can actually give myself permission. Okay, these are the kind of breakthroughs that you'll hear at this point, subhanAllah. And it's a beautiful moment in the session if you get to have that happen in one session. It's extremely beautiful. Sometimes a whole session is going to be about awareness. A whole session will be about ownership. And then the shift will happen in the fourth or fifth session. There's no framework or time frame for this, by the way. And finally, we want to get our clients to take some sort of action so that they can really anchor the change in the long term. As a coach, it is your responsibility to make sure that the action is suited for them, but also to challenge them to step out of their comfort zone. I like to ask my clients to do bold things. Everyone is different, as long as it's, again, aligned with who they are. Because no breakthrough is going to be complete without taking action. Some people get addicted to the breakthrough cycle of just like hiring coaches and therapists and talking and realizing things about themselves and the patterns in their lives, and then they don't actually do anything about it. And so what's the point? That's just a waste. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about today was the difference between coaching and giving advice. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to do a whole video on this topic, inshallah, because I think it does deserve its own piece of content. So I'm going to try and record that in the next few days. Let me know if you're interested in knowing, because I know that a lot of people get into coaching thinking that it's the same thing as giving advice, when actually not at all. So it's important to talk about this, inshallah. If you want to give advice, then you should be a teacher or a mentor or maybe a speaker, motivational speaker, but not a coach. All right. That's it for today. As a reminder, just comment webinar under this video. And if you want to know more about what it's like to be a coach, what are the things that you need to master, what are the 3 phases that you need to go through in order to create a successful coaching business, comment webinar under the video, inshallah, and I will make sure to send you the link to register for the Confident Coach Blueprint webinar happening on August 7th, inshallah. I'm going to go back to my retreat. Again, apologies about the quality of this video, and it will be much better in 2 weeks, inshallah, when I'm back home. Take care, inshallah. Beautiful. Ma'as salama.